Anna clutched the worn photograph tighter. The image of a smiling man in a sturdy coat, a stark contrast to the swirling snow outside the train window. This was to be her new life, a haven from the endless toil of her family's farm in Sweden. A mail-order bride, she was called. A harsh term, perhaps, but one that held the promise of something better. The advertisement had promised a prosperous farm in the American West, a loving husband, and a chance to build a family. Anna dreamt of sun-drenched fields, a cozy home filled with laughter, and a partner to share her life. She had packed her meager belongings, said goodbye to her tearful mother, and boarded the ship, her heart filled with both hope and trepidation. The train journey had been long and arduous, the vast American landscape a blur of endless plains and towering mountains. Now, as the train slowed to a halt at a small, dusty station, a wave of nervousness washed over her. This was it, the beginning of her new life. She stepped off the train, her eyes scanning the sparse crowd, searching for the familiar face from the photograph. But he wasn't there. Only a grizzled old man with a horse-drawn wagon waited, a crumpled note clutched in his hand. He shuffled towards her, his eyes filled with a mixture of pity and resignation. "You must be Anna," he rasped, his voice rough from years of wind and sun. "I'm Jed. I'm here to take you to the farm." The wagon ride was long and bumpy, the landscape growing increasingly desolate. Gone were the rolling hills she had imagined. Instead, a harsh, unforgiving terrain stretched before them. Jed remained silent, his eyes fixed on the horizon, offering no explanation for the missing husband or the bleak surroundings. Anna tried to maintain a hopeful facade, but a knot of anxiety tightened in her stomach. She pictured the cozy farmhouse from the advertisement, the one with the smoking chimney and the welcoming porch. The reality was far different. The wind howled through the skeletal branches of bare trees, and the sky was a heavy, ominous gray. She wondered about the man she was supposed to marry. Had something happened to him? Was he simply delayed? Or had she been deceived? The thought sent a shiver down her spine, colder than the biting wind. She had risked everything for this new life, leaving behind her family and the only home she had ever known. Now, she was alone in a foreign land, with a stranger, heading towards an uncertain future. Despite the growing unease, Anna resolved to remain strong. She would face whatever challenges lay ahead with courage and determination. She had come too far to turn back now. The wagon lurched to a stop before what could charitably be called a house. It was a small, dilapidated structure, its paint peeling, windows boarded up, and roof sagging precariously. Dismay washed over Anna. This was not the prosperous farm she had been promised. Jed wordlessly helped her down, his gaze avoiding hers. He pointed towards the door. "They're inside," he mumbled, then climbed back onto the wagon, leaving Anna standing alone, clutching her small suitcase. Taking a deep breath, she approached the house, her hand trembling as she reached for the latch. The door creaked open, revealing a dimly lit interior. The air was cold and stale, heavy with the scent of dust and something else, something akin to despair. 3 pairs of eyes stared back at her from the shadows. 3 children, huddled together for warmth, their faces gaunt, their clothes ragged. The oldest, a girl of perhaps 8, held a younger boy close, while a tiny toddler clung to her leg, sucking his thumb. They looked at Anna with a mixture of fear and wary curiosity. "Hello," Anna said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm Anna." The girl remained silent, her eyes fixed on Anna's face, as if trying to assess whether she was friend or foe. The only sound was the soft whimper of the toddler, a sound that tugged at Anna's heart. This was not the life she had imagined, but these children. They needed her. The girl, emboldened by Anna's gentle tone, spoke hesitantly. "I'm Sarah," she said, her voice small and scratchy. "This is Thomas." She gestured to the boy she held. "And that's baby Samuel." Thomas, about 5 years old, peeked out from behind Sarah, his eyes wide and curious. He had a smudge of dirt on his cheek and a gap-toothed grin that hinted at a playful spirit buried beneath layers of neglect. Samuel, barely two, continued to suck his thumb. His large blue eyes filled with an innocence that belied the harshness of their situation. Anna knelt, bringing herself to their level. "It's nice to meet you, Sarah, Thomas, and Samuel," she said, her voice warm and reassuring. "Where is your father?" Sarah's eyes flickered downwards. He went away," she mumbled, her voice barely audible. "He said he was going to find gold." A wave of understanding washed over Anna, followed by a surge of anger towards the man who could abandon his children in such a state. These weren't just children. They were vulnerable, innocent beings who deserved love, care, and a safe home. And now they were alone, hungry, and scared. Anna knew, in that instant, that her life had taken an unexpected turn. The farm, the husband, her own dreams. They all seemed insignificant compared to the needs of these three small children. As if on cue, Samuel began to cry, his small body shaking with silent sobs. Sarah hugged him tighter, but her own eyes were filled with tears. Thomas, usually a bundle of energy, remained unusually still, his gaze fixed on the floor. Anna knew she had to act quickly. "Are you hungry?" she asked, her voice gentle. Sarah nodded, her lower lip trembling. "We haven't eaten much today," she admitted. "Pa left a little bit of bread, but it's all gone now." Anna rummaged through her suitcase, pulling out a small loaf of bread and a piece of cheese she had packed for her journey. It wasn't much, but it was something. She broke the bread into small pieces and handed them to the children, watching as they devoured it eagerly. Even Samuel stopped crying and reached for a piece, his tiny fingers grasping at the bread with surprising strength. As they ate, Anna noticed how thin they were, their ribs visible beneath their ragged clothes. Their skin was pale and their hair was dull and lifeless. They were clearly malnourished and neglected. She thought of her own childhood, filled with warmth, love, and plenty of food. The contrast was stark and heartbreaking. These children needed her, and she wouldn't abandon them. She would find a way to provide for them, to give them the love and care they so desperately deserved. Her new life had begun not as a wife, but as a mother, and she would be the best mother she could be. Later, as the children huddled together, sleeping fitfully on a straw-filled mattress in the corner of the room, Anna began to explore the house. It was even more dilapidated than she had initially thought. The roof leaked, the windows were broken, and the floorboards creaked ominously with every step. In a dusty corner, she found a small, wooden table and a tattered piece of paper lying on it. It was a note, scrawled in a hurried hand. "Anna," it read, "I'm sorry, I had to go. The farm wasn't providing, and I couldn't watch my children starve. I've gone to find gold in the mountains. I'll send for you all when I strike it rich. Take care of them." It was signed, John. Anna crumpled the note in her hand, her heart filled with a mixture of anger and despair. He hadn't even had the decency to tell her himself. He had simply abandoned them all, leaving her to face this impossible situation alone. She sank onto a rickety chair, her mind racing. What was she going to do? She had no money, no skills beyond basic farming, and 3 young children to care for. She could leave, of course. She could try to find her way back to the station and return to Sweden. It would be difficult, but perhaps it was the only sensible option. But then she looked at the sleeping children, their faces peaceful in their slumber, and she knew she couldn't do it. She couldn't abandon them, not after seeing their vulnerability and their need. She was their only hope. Sleep evaded Anna. The hard chair offered little comfort, and the weight of her decision pressed heavily on her. One part of her screamed to leave, to escape this nightmare and salvage what she could of her own life. She had come here seeking happiness, a family of her own, not to become a surrogate mother to 3 abandoned children in a desolate wasteland. She pictured herself back in Sweden, safe and warm, surrounded by her family. But then she remembered Sarah's tear-filled eyes, Thomas's hesitant smile, and Samuel's desperate grip on the piece of bread. She remembered the look of utter vulnerability in their faces, the unspoken plea for help. How could she turn her back on them? How could she leave them to fend for themselves in this harsh and unforgiving world? She thought of her own mother, a woman of unwavering strength and compassion, who had always taught her to help those in need. What would her mother do in this situation? The answer was clear. Anna closed her eyes, her mind still swirling with doubt and fear. She knew that staying would be difficult, perhaps the most difficult thing she had ever done. She would face poverty, hardship, and loneliness. But she also knew that it was the right thing to do. These children needed her, and she wouldn't let them down. She would find a way to make this work, to build a life for them, to give them the love and security they deserved. Her dreams had changed, but her purpose had become clear. She would stay. The first rays of dawn crept through the cracks in the boarded-up windows, casting long shadows across the room. Anna rose stiffly from the chair, her body aching from the uncomfortable night. She knew that today would be a challenge, but she was ready to face it. She started by trying to make the house more habitable. She swept the floor, dusted the furniture, and tried to patch up the broken windows with scraps of cloth. It was a small start, but it made a difference. The house felt a little less desolate, a little more like a home. Next, she needed to find food. The bread and cheese she had shared with the children were long gone, and their stomachs would soon be rumbling again. She searched the cupboards, finding only a few wilted potatoes and a handful of dried beans. It wasn't much, but it would have to do. She boiled the potatoes and beans in a pot over the fire, adding a pinch of salt to give them some flavor. The children watched her with wide eyes, their hunger evident. When the food was ready, she divided it into 4 portions, making sure each child had enough. As they ate, Anna thought about the future. She needed to find a way to earn money, to provide for these children. She had no idea how she would do it, but she was determined to find a way. She would learn to farm, to sew, to do whatever it took to keep them safe and fed. She was their mother now, and she would protect them with all her strength. The journey would be long and hard, but she was ready to face it, together. Days turned into weeks, and life at the farm became a constant struggle for survival. Food was scarce, and Anna had to be resourceful to stretch their meager supplies. She learned to identify edible plants growing wild in the fields and spent hours foraging for berries and nuts. She even managed to catch a few rabbits using snares she fashioned from old rope. Warmth was another constant challenge. The house was drafty and poorly insulated, and the nights were bitterly cold. Anna gathered firewood from the surrounding forest, but it was never enough to keep the house truly warm. She layered the children in all the clothes they had, wrapping them in old blankets to keep them from freezing. Bathing was a luxury they could rarely afford. Water had to be hauled from a nearby stream, and heating it required precious firewood. Anna made do with sponge baths, using a damp cloth to clean the children's faces and hands. Despite the hardships, Anna never gave up. She mended their clothes with scraps of fabric, told them stories to distract them from their hunger, and sang them songs to soothe their fears. She learned to be a doctor, a teacher, and a protector all rolled into one. She was a mother, and she would do anything for her children. She bartered with Jed for supplies, offering to mend his clothes or help him with chores in exchange for food or firewood. It was a difficult life, but Anna was determined to make it work. She would not let these children starve or freeze. She would find a way to survive no matter what it took. Slowly, painstakingly, Anna began to earn the children's trust. At first, they were wary and reserved, unsure of her motives. But Anna's unwavering kindness and gentle patience gradually chipped away at their defenses. She told them stories of her childhood in Sweden, of snow-covered landscapes, midsummer festivals, and mischievous trolls. She sang them lullabies in Swedish, her voice soft and soothing. She taught them simple games, using pebbles and twigs as toys. She made sure to spend individual time with each child, listening to their fears and their dreams. She learned about Sarah's love for drawing, Thomas's fascination with animals, and Samuel's delight in playing peekaboo. She created a sense of routine and stability in their lives, something they had long been missing. She made sure they had regular meals, even if they were meager. She established a bedtime routine, reading them stories by the light of a flickering candle. She transformed the dilapidated house into a home, filling it with love and laughter. She taught them to help with chores, making them feel like they were contributing to the family. She celebrated their birthdays, making them feel special and loved. As the weeks passed, the children began to see Anna not just as a stranger, but as a mother. They clung to her, seeking her comfort and her reassurance. They trusted her, loved her, and depended on her. And Anna, in turn, loved them with all her heart. They were her family now, and she would do anything to protect them. One crisp autumn afternoon, a wagon pulled up to the farm. A woman with kind eyes and a warm smile stepped down, followed by a tall, sturdy man. They were the Millers, a neighboring family who lived a few miles away. "We heard about this situation," Mrs. Miller said gently, her gaze sweeping over the dilapidated house and the children huddled behind Anna. "We wanted to see if you needed any help." Anna, overwhelmed by their kindness, could only stammer a thank you. The Millers were a godsend. They brought with them a basket filled with fresh bread, eggs, and vegetables, a feast compared to what Anna had been able to provide. More importantly, they offered their knowledge and support. Mr. Miller, a seasoned farmer, taught Anna about the land, showing her how to plant crops that would thrive in the harsh climate. He helped her repair the broken fences and showed her how to care for the few chickens and pigs that John had left behind. Mrs. Miller taught Anna about preserving food, showing her how to can vegetables and make jam. She also shared her knowledge of herbal remedies, teaching Anna how to treat common ailments using plants from the surrounding area. The Millers became more than just neighbors. They became friends, mentors, and a surrogate family. They helped Anna navigate the challenges of life in the West, offering her guidance, support, and a sense of community. With their help, Anna began to feel like she could truly make a life for herself and the children. She wasn't alone anymore. The following winter was particularly harsh. Blizzards raged for days, trapping Anna and the children inside the small house. Food supplies dwindled, and the firewood ran dangerously low. Anna rationed what little they had, making sure the children had enough to eat, even if it meant she went hungry. When Thomas fell ill with a fever, Anna worried she wouldn't be able to care for him properly. She used Mrs. Miller's herbal remedies and nursed him day and night, praying for his recovery. Thankfully, he eventually recovered, but the experience left Anna shaken. The spring brought new challenges. After weeks of backbreaking work, Anna and the children finally managed to plant a small garden. But just as the crops began to sprout, a swarm of locusts descended upon the farm, devouring everything in their path. Anna watched in despair as their hard work was destroyed in a matter of hours. Despite these setbacks, Anna refused to give up. She knew that the land could be unforgiving, but she was determined to find a way to make it work. She learned from her mistakes, experimenting with different crops and farming techniques. She worked tirelessly, day after day, fueled by her love for the children and her determination to provide them with a better life. Each obstacle made her stronger, more resilient, and more determined to succeed. She would not be defeated. One day, Mrs. Miller noticed Anna's intricate needlework while mending a tear in Sarah's dress. "You have a real talent for sewing, Anna," she said. "Have you ever considered selling your work?" Anna had never thought of it before. Sewing had always been a pastime, a way to make clothes for her family. But now, with the farm struggling, it could be a way to earn much-needed income. With Mrs. Miller's encouragement, Anna started sewing clothes for the women in the nearby town. She made simple dresses, sturdy aprons, and warm bonnets, using her own designs and adding a touch of Swedish flair. Her work was an immediate success. The women admired her craftsmanship and her attention to detail. Soon, Anna was swamped with orders, working late into the night by the light of a kerosene lamp. The money she earned from sewing made a huge difference. She was able to buy more food for the children, purchase new clothes and shoes, and even make repairs to the house. She also used some of the money to buy books and school supplies for Sarah and Thomas. She was determined to give them an education, even if they couldn't attend a formal school. Anna's sewing became more than just a way to earn money. It became a source of pride and accomplishment. She was using her skills to provide for her family, and she was making a name for herself in the community. It was a turning point, a sign that things were finally starting to look up. Under Anna's loving care, the children began to flourish. Sarah, once withdrawn and fearful, blossomed into a confident and creative young woman. She spent hours drawing and painting, filling notebooks with her colorful creations. Anna encouraged her talent, providing her with art supplies and praising her work. Sarah dreamed of becoming an artist, and Anna was determined to help her achieve her goal. Thomas, once a quiet and reserved boy, transformed into a playful and energetic child. He spent his days exploring the farm, chasing after chickens, and building forts in the woods. He developed a love for animals, caring for the chickens and pigs with a gentle hand. Anna nurtured his curiosity, reading him stories about animals and taking him on nature walks. Thomas dreamed of becoming a veterinarian, and Anna knew he had the compassion and intelligence to make his dream a reality. Samuel, once a timid and clingy toddler, grew into a happy and independent young boy. He loved to laugh and play, filling the house with his joyful energy. He followed Anna everywhere, helping her with chores and learning from her example. Anna showered him with affection, teaching him to read, write, and count. Samuel dreamed of becoming a farmer, just like Mr. Miller, and Anna knew he would be a hardworking and responsible one. The children were thriving not just physically, but emotionally. They felt loved, secure, and valued. They had a mother who cared for them, a home to call their own, and a future to look forward to. Anna had given them more than just food and shelter. She had given them hope. They were no longer just surviving. They were truly living. One evening, as Anna was tucking the children into bed, a figure appeared in the doorway. It was a man, gaunt and weathered, his clothes worn and dusty. He looked nothing like the smiling man in the photograph she had carried from Sweden. The children gasped, recognizing him instantly. "Bah!" Sarah whispered, her voice filled with disbelief. It was John. He had returned. He stood there, silhouetted against the fading light, his eyes filled with a mixture of shame and longing. He had heard about Anna's success, about how she had transformed the farm and cared for his children. He had seen them in town, happy and healthy, and he knew he had made a terrible mistake. "Anna," he said, his voice hoarse, I don't know what to say. I'm so sorry. I abandoned you all. I thought I was doing what was best, but I was wrong. I failed you." He had not struck it rich. The gold rush had been a cruel illusion, leaving him with nothing but regret. He had wandered for months, working odd jobs and haunted by the thought of his children starving. Finally, he couldn't bear it anymore. He had to come back, to face the consequences of his actions. He looked at the children, his eyes welling up with tears. "Can you ever forgive me?" he asked, his voice barely audible. Anna stood frozen, her mind racing. She had spent so long building a life for these children, a life without him. How could she possibly let him back in? But then she looked at the children's faces, their expressions a mixture of hope and uncertainty, and she knew that the decision wasn't just hers to make. Anna, drawing on her inner strength, stepped forward, her voice firm but controlled. "John," she said, "you left us. You left these children to starve. You have to understand the consequences of your actions." She spoke of the hardships they had endured, the hunger, the cold, the constant struggle for survival. She spoke of the fear and uncertainty the children had felt when he abandoned them. She didn't spare him any details, wanting him to fully grasp the pain he had caused. But she also spoke of the love and resilience she had found in these children, the unwavering support she had received from the Millers, and the pride she felt in building a new life for them. The children, sensing the tension in the air, gathered around Anna, their eyes fixed on their father. Sarah, the eldest, spoke first, her voice trembling slightly. "Pa," she said, "we missed you, but it was hard without you. Anna took care of us. She was our mother." Thomas, emboldened by Sarah's words, added, "She taught me how to build forts and catch rabbits." Even Samuel, too young to fully understand the situation, reached out and grabbed his father's hand, a gesture of innocent forgiveness. Seeing the love in his children's eyes and hearing their words of both longing and gratitude towards Anna, John finally understood the full extent of his mistake. He had not only abandoned his family, but he had also missed out on witnessing his children grow and develop into wonderful human beings. His heart ached with remorse. "I know I can never make up for what I did," he said, his voice choked with emotion. "But I promise, if you let me, I will spend the rest of my life trying to earn your forgiveness." The next few days were filled with uncertainty and tension. Anna and the children needed to decide whether they could truly forgive John and allow him back into their lives. It was not an easy decision. Anna spent hours talking to the children, listening to their thoughts and feelings. Sarah, still hesitant, worried that her father would leave them again. Thomas, eager to have his father back, wanted to give him a second chance. Samuel, too young to fully grasp the complexities of the situation, simply wanted his father to stay. Anna also had to grapple with her own feelings. She had come to care deeply for these children, and she had built a life for them that was safe, stable, and loving. Could she trust John not to disrupt that? Could she forgive him for the pain he had caused? She sought advice from the Millers, who had become her trusted friends and confidants. They listened patiently to her concerns and offered their support, but ultimately, they reminded her that the decision was hers to make. Finally, after much soul-searching, Anna came to a decision. She knew that John had made a terrible mistake, but she also believed that people could change. She saw the genuine remorse in his eyes, and she heard the sincerity in his voice. She also knew that the children deserved to have their father back in their lives, if he was willing to earn their trust and prove himself worthy of their love. The decision was difficult, but she knew it was the right one. They would give him a chance. John worked tirelessly to regain the trust of his children and Anna. He started by helping with the chores around the farm, mending fences, tending to the animals, and working alongside Anna in the garden. He showed the children that he was willing to work hard and contribute to the family. He spent time with each of them individually, listening to their stories, playing games, and offering them his love and support. He learned about Sarah's passion for art, Thomas's love for animals, and Samuel's endless energy. He apologized for his past mistakes and promised to be a better father. It wasn't easy. There were moments of doubt, moments of tension, and moments of awkwardness. But John persevered, slowly but surely earning back the children's trust. He also worked hard to earn Anna's forgiveness. He admired her strength, her resilience, and her unwavering love for the children. He knew that he didn't deserve her, but he hoped that one day, she would be able to see him as more than just the man who had abandoned them. He learned to sew, helping Anna with her growing business. He became a skilled farmer, using his knowledge to improve their crops and increase their yield. He even learned a few words of Swedish, surprising Anna with his efforts to connect with her culture. Over time, John became an integral part of the family. He was no longer just the children's father. He was also a friend, a partner, and a contributing member of their household. They were a family not by blood, but by choice, by love, and by forgiveness. Their new family was built on a foundation of honesty, trust, and a shared commitment to creating a better future. Years passed and the farm flourished. Anna's sewing business thrived, providing a comfortable income for the family. John worked tirelessly on the land, improving the crops and expanding their livestock. The children grew into happy, well-adjusted young adults, each pursuing their dreams with passion and determination. Sarah, with Anna's encouragement, attended art school in a nearby town. Her paintings captured the beauty and resilience of the American West, earning her critical acclaim and a growing following. She often returned to the farm, finding inspiration in the familiar landscape and the love of her family. Thomas, true to his word, became a veterinarian, dedicating his life to caring for animals. He opened a small clinic in the town, providing much-needed care for the local livestock and pets. He often visited the farm, sharing his knowledge and helping John care for their animals. Samuel, following in his father's footsteps, took over the farm, becoming a skilled and innovative farmer. He embraced new technologies and sustainable practices, ensuring that the land would thrive for generations to come. He married a local woman and started a family of his own, filling the farm with the laughter and joy of children once again. Anna, looking at her family, felt a deep sense of contentment. She had come to the American West seeking a better life, and she had found it, not in the way she had expected, but in a way that was far more meaningful. She had found love, belonging, and a purpose in caring for these children. She was their mother and they were her family. They had faced hardship and adversity, but they had overcome it together, emerging stronger and more resilient than before. The future was bright, filled with hope, love, and endless possibilities. Decades later, the farm still stands, a testament to the enduring power of love, resilience, and forgiveness. Anna, now an old woman, sits on the porch, watching her grandchildren play in the fields. Her hair is silver, and her face is lined with wrinkles, but her eyes still sparkle with the same warmth and kindness that had drawn the children to her so many years ago. John sits beside her, his hand resting gently on hers. He is a changed man, a loving husband, and a devoted grandfather. He often tells the grandchildren stories of his past mistakes, hoping to teach them the importance of honesty, responsibility, and the unwavering bond of family. Sarah's paintings hang in museums around the world, inspiring generations of artists. Thomas's veterinary clinic continues to thrive, providing compassionate care for animals in need. Samuel's farm is a model of sustainable agriculture, feeding countless families and protecting the environment. The family gathers on the farm every year for a grand reunion, celebrating their shared history and their unbreakable bond. They laugh, they sing, they share stories, and they remember the woman who brought them all together, the mail-order bride who became the mother they needed. Anna's selfless act had transformed their lives, creating a legacy of love, resilience, and forgiveness that would endure for generations to come. Her story is a reminder that even in the face of hardship and adversity, love can conquer all, and that the greatest rewards often come from the most unexpected places. The farm is more than just a place. It's a symbol of hope, a testament to the power of family, and a lasting tribute to the woman who made it all possible.